Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Sunday. I am Sydney Masetle. Welcome to the Choral Meg Roundtable. This afternoon, I'm joined by three gentlemen who are young conductors, in my view, and they've been doing so well over the past few years with their choirs in different projects. And unfortunately, Mr. Chona could not join us today due to some personal reasons, but he initially agreed to be with us, and I'm hoping next time he will join us because he's excited in being part of this program as well. Gentlemen, without any further ado, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourselves individually to the Choral Meg viewers and to the entire Africa and the world, because this thing is all over the world, it's all over Africa, it's all over South Africa. That's why it's important for us to actually share our views without any fear, to share what we feel can work for our fraternity. Basically, all of us, I think, can agree that arts across the board is in danger, especially during this COVID time. Lockdown has showed us flames, actually most of us who work in the arts full time. So it is these discussions that will actually start to plan for the future. You know, it is not the Choral Meg plan. It is the plan for all of us who are here today. You know, whatever that you're going to suggest, we will make a follow-up in future and make it a point that we take it forward, obviously through support of other people or other role players in the industry. Can I start with you, Mr. Lebuso? Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Maphakela. Good afternoon, viewers. My name is Lebuso Kholane, popularly known as Professor. I was born and raised in Tumahula in the Free State, but now I am permanently based in Pretoria. I'm a military musician by profession. I specialize in Scottish instrument, bagpipes, and my second specialization is tuba. And I'm also a conductor of TUT Garankuwa campus. Yeah, briefly, that's me. The other thing I would like to note in my introduction is that my music was built and groomed from the church band. Yeah, that's me in short. Thank you.
Thank you so much, my brother. Yeah, it looks like we're going to have a very interesting conversation. Mr. Maphakela, welcome, sir.
Greetings, Mr. Masetle. Greetings to you and your viewers. My name is Katlego Maphakela. I'm a musician by profession. Studied music. We're under the Northwest University Potchefstroom campus. I'm currently based in Klerksdorp, but with Katiro. I'm in Klerksdorp. I'm a teacher at a school called Maphakela, based in Joburg. And some of the things I'm doing is that I've recently established an organization or a group of singers by the name, we call it Joburg Music Academy Choir. So this is just a brief introduction. I do not want to go back to other things conducting before. Just wanted to introduce myself based on what I'm doing currently.
Interesting. Thank you so much, Tate Maphakela, and thank you for joining us today. We also have Mr. Moaisi. Welcome, sir.
Mr. Maphakela and your viewers. My name, as it has been said, Lehlohonolo Moaisi, originally from Rustenburg, but currently based in Don Park, Boksburg. I'm a music educator in magnet schools in the Department of Education in Gauteng. I'm also a choir conductor of Choral. I'm a resident pianist of a group called Vivacious Sound. So basically, that's why unfortunately I don't sing anymore. So I just conduct and play piano like that. Yes, and it's wonderful to be part of this show. Thank you so much for inviting me to be part of your discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Moaisi. Thank you so much, gentlemen. I think during our discussions during the week and in the past few days, we thought we should discuss collaborations, especially in the choral fraternity. So I know, in my view, as an individual, I know the power of collaboration. One brain is always better than two brains are always better than one. And obviously, if I, Sydney Masetle, is running a group and I collaborate, for instance, with a certain orchestra, that orchestra has got its own following. I've got my own following. So basically, we are going to combine our followers. So basically, also increases or improves your footprint. So I wanted us to touch on that thing of collaboration, because I think these days, I've seen a number of successful artists, even in pop music, taking this thing of collaboration very seriously, because sometimes one person can reach a certain point, and then it's going to take another person to help them to move from that point to another. So I don't know if it's something that you guys have ever thought of in the areas that you work in. I'm aware that we've got Katlego Maphakela, who works in the school environment and just established a music academy. And we've got Mr. Kholane, who works in the military environment and also conducts an institutional choir. And then we've got Mr. Moaisi, who is a music educator, a pianist, and also conducts a choral choir. So I want to know, like, from you guys, have you ever considered working with other groups, to start with, like orchestras in the areas that you work in? I know in Gauteng, we've got a number of orchestras where Papa and Professor are based. And we've got a number of theater houses in Gauteng, like your State Theater, your Joburg Theater, and all that. I'm not only talking about collaborating with artists, or maybe making collaborations with such theaters. And then in Klerksdorp, we've got the Northwest Music Con and stuff like that. So I want to know, have you ever considered that? If not, what is the stumbling block? And do you think it's something that can actually help us as conductors and also help choirs out there? Can I start with you, Mr. Kholane? Your view.
All right, Mr. Masetle, thank you very much for that beautiful question. I have thought about collaborations, and I have done collaborations, especially in my performances with the institutional choir, taking the guys, some of my friends from at work, doing especially crossover pieces, and it was so surprising how much it made a huge impact. And this actually, first time studying it, it's when I even realized that actually we have been limiting ourselves as choral fraternity because of the nature of our music. We have only been stereotyped to choral music, not engaging too much into other genres or other pieces, especially crossovers, where most people are much more familiar with the music. And turnout of those performances, it was really beautiful, and it has only encouraged us to actually expand and explore our repertoire, especially in crossovers. And having said that, even when World Choir Games came to South Africa, and when we realized for the first time that even in their competition settings, one of the requirements is to sing crossover pieces. So for us, it was something that was easy because of already we have done it. I think collaboration, especially, it doesn't need to be restricted around choral music. We can do great, because remember that our music is the foundation of all other genres. And for having that simply means we've got a huge capacity or a huge platform to spread our wings.
Oh, thank you. Great point there. Yes, I've seen some of your work, and I think I'm still gonna follow up on your question. I'm now gonna give Mr. Maphakela to share with us his view.
Okay, thanks, Brasit. Let me just start by being a bit parallel with Lebuso there. I want to agree to a certain level, but I think the greatest collaborator must be the Department of Education. We must take everything back to the basics. And I'll tell you why. There's a need, there's this fight between the art society versus the fourth industrial revolution. People are getting replaced. I heard you saying we had challenges. COVID is showing us flames. People are getting replaced by robots, and we need to find that thin line between the human emotion, the human expression, vis-a-vis your computerized world, where and Brasid, I don't see myself. I was saying this to someone else. I was saying, you know, with art, I want to talk about art in a broader sense, not music per se. So the Department of Education has a duty to do. We need to go to the basics and introduce the arts as a subject in schools, not creative arts. We're not going to talk about creative arts because creative arts deals with it deals with art forms, and it deals with it deals with it doesn't go further. You, for example, you learn from grade 8 to grade 9. I think it's from grade 3 to grade 9, and after that there's no continuation of anything of that sort called the arts. So they're just basing it there as a way of creating some sort of jobs for other people. So if we take this thing and take it back to the basics and say, how do we then have kids who are going to school study? It must be compulsory for a child to go to school and take an art subject, being it your visual art, being it your drama, being it your dancing, being it your music. In that sense, you're going to create an atmosphere or an environment where people, once they reach their grade 12, their matric, they can then choose. Because I go to grade 12, can study music for a longer period of time, can study visual art for a longer period of time. I have my grades. You are creating an atmosphere where you're going to have people who are going to go to varsities. They are going to study law. They are going to study their law. You're going to do medicine. You're going to do teaching and all this kind of stuff. But you're going to do that because you want to put bread on the table. Again, you're going to work afterwards. But we need to have a society where someone can go and work, then after work is able to then freelance, where it's this side hustle. You can then side hustle as a lawyer, but you are a lawyer, on Saturday you are a singer. We go to your concert, and in that sense, we're creating an economic, we give people economic power, because you're not going to focus on your salary as a human being. So with these institutions that are here, when Sydney, it's difficult that we collaborate with them because it has to deal with moolah. It's monetary type of things. So and some of us work in gas, location, and we don't want to say people have, but we have the challenge of money. So if I want to take 3 or 4 kids to the Northwest Musicon, I just have to pay. And where do we get that money? So we need to have a sense of saying, let us go back to the basics. Let us create that a platform for people especially who have studied the arts at the schools, to come into the system of education and teach the arts to these kids from a young age.
Very interesting. Yeah. A very good point there, Mr. Maphakela. We'll come back to it. You raised some very interesting issues there, which we need to explore further. Mr. Moaisi, your view, please.
Yeah, very, very interesting indeed from actually both of my colleagues. One, I'd like to just make a follow-up or echo what Mr. Maphakela was saying now. The saddest part is the fact that the arts, in general, have been taken as a by-the-way thing when it comes to the academic approach, of our country, or maybe in other countries also. So if it's a by-the-way thing, even what we inculcate in our children's mind is that you can never amount to anything focusing on them. So there's never actually a real force behind it. So you can actually pursue a career out of it. And he made a very bright example of the fact that you only find it at up to GET level, from grade 7 up to 9. And that's it, there's no continuity. So that it says children as well, future, maybe I should just focus on science or something. Meanwhile, there's actually a lot that one can achieve out of it. And again, coming to issue, the collaboration. Again, I agree with the fact that
sorry, Mr. Mais, I don't know. It sounds like your speaker has a problem there. Just some funny sound. I don't know. Maybe if you could try check it and continue with your point. Yes, you may continue.
All right.
Sounds much better now. Yeah, the sound sabotage. Yeah, you may continue.
Yeah. Is it better? Yes. So I was saying, in terms of collaboration, so we need to try and be as diverse as possible. We need to diversify as much as we can with the kind of repertoire that we have, because that's one unfortunate thing. It's not that we're selling out our own music that we have. We need to be open to other types of genres, because the choral is anything that is done in the form of a choir, a group. So we are open to doing other genres, we're open to opening up our repertoire, making it diverse so that it can attract a lot of people from there. Yes. So yes, maybe I'll continue on this again. I'm just worried about the speaker.
Okay, no problem at all. Yeah, gentlemen, you put your points to the fourth. Mr. Maphakela raised something about fourth industrial revolution. And Mr. Lebuso, you spoke about being flexible or trying to accommodate other genres. We shouldn't just focus on choral music as a genre, when you do collaborations. And then, yeah, Mr. Moaisi, you encourage flexibility, and, you and Mr. Maphakela emphasize the point that our Department of Education actually has a role to play in making sure that this becomes a success. Yes, I can't say I disagree with you. Those are your points, and I believe they are very important, and I'm very happy that you brought them forward. And then expanding them further, gentlemen, I'll make an example. When we started Choral Meg 5 years back, almost 5 years back, we were approached by a number of people from the industry offering certain things, to come help us achieve our goal. And then it's through such people that actually we managed to achieve certain things that we alone could not actually achieve, without necessarily asking them to help. And most of the people who helped me, because I was from the media background for about 6-7 years, I was working in the media industry. Most of the people who helped us, especially with the first issue, were people who were outside the choral music fraternity, but they had media experience, number one, and number two, they had advertising experience, because that's where the revenue comes from. So with such collaborations, we managed to come with 3 print issues. And I think even in our music, taking such a direction maybe could help us expand certain areas that maybe we're not so experienced in, or we don't have time to focus in, you know. Like for instance, I know as conductors, most of the time, we worry a lot about music, we worry a lot about numbers in the rehearsals, numbers in the performances and all that. But if we don't have committee members, for instance, who have expertise in different areas, like your accountants, your marketing people in your choir, I think it's best, in my view, to actually go outside. Like the reason I mentioned the arts centers, I'm actually imagining a situation whereby I'm from Maphakela, there's Mabana in Maphakela, and there was an orchestra at some point at the Maphakela Arts Council. And I can imagine the Northwest University Choir in Maphakela maybe speaking to Mabana and say, because Mabana is somehow sponsored by the government. So we will indirectly benefit from the government if we have a partnership with Mabana to say, you know what, Mabana, can we partner with your orchestra, for instance, and have 3 shows which you wouldn't have to pay a cent, you know, because they must have shows, you know. And have we taken steps in approaching those people? Have we approached your state theater? Have you approached your KZNP or your JPO to say, gentlemen, yes, we are a community choir from Ekasi, like Mr. Maphakela mentioned, and here are our challenges in terms of finances. Can we at least have 2 concerts a year, you know? It will not only profile us as a choir, but it will also help you as the orchestra. You know, Mr. Lebuso, I don't know what your point of view is, especially from the band background. You know, if maybe you could call your band members to come collaborate with the TUT choir, for instance, and maybe have 4 or 5 gigs paid or sponsored by the band, because we know the challenges that most of the choirs face. What are your thoughts?
I think we just need, as conductors, to start with. I will talk from my experience. We are, how do I call this? We are mostly unacademic in choral music, conductors who are self-taught. So most of the time when we come to factors of approaching or getting orchestras, even pianists, we are scared. We used to be so scared, but it's because of we lacked knowledge, and we, in the same time, we are undermining ourselves. It is so truly possible. Take it from me, I know it. It's so truly possible. I started as a just self-taught musician, and I had to go through studies so that I can get where I am today. To get collaborations, especially with army bands, it's so easy. It doesn't even need funds. It's just a request, a letter you do, and then it goes to the department. Maybe we make arrangements with the director of music or officer commanding of that particular unit. It's the same as SAPS band. We do the same thing. I think if we can also try that, because of those people, like for instance, from where I'm working, I know that Defense Force, our motto is that Defense Force is Defense Force of the people. We want to be close to the people, so that people can see actually what is happening in the Defense Force, and see even career opportunities that are there in the Defense Force. There's a colleague of mine in Cape Town in the Navy band. Last year, he did a wonderful work. He took Circle of Life, and he rearranged the score for the military band to accompany a choir. So that simply shows that collaborations do not have any limit in terms of any type of music, being classical, being pop, being whatever, but being marginalized within our spectrum of choral music. So it's possible. I think if we can do that, that would definitely help us, and we will be much more successful.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. Mr. Moaisi, do you think our choirs can benefit from certain relationships with maybe, I don't want to say established musicians, with other musicians who may add value to our craft? Do you think those are the relationships that can work for us?
Definitely, definitely. I think we can add a lot of value. Recently, as Vivacious Sounds, we collaborated with other groups at the Joburg Theatre, and it was our first time thing. But I think most of the time, what we are scared of is the fact that for these big theaters and big orchestras to approve relationships with you, they look at probably your pedigree or your historical performances that you've done, because they will probably want you to set a certain standard or to maintain a certain standard when you're in collaboration with them. And meanwhile, I mean, we really good. It's just that we lack these opportunities. So as I said, fortunately, we managed to pursue one of those collaborations. We tried with the JPO this year, and it's still something that is in the pipeline. They are willing. I was speaking to the lady, the lady called Kholane. I think I can also speak the name. It was a matter of COVID that we under the COVID thing this year, but the promise is that next year it will happen. So it's something that you probably can follow up on and see if it comes through or what. But just to answer your question again, I think it's important. It's the only way that can actually take us as a choral fraternity out of this little space that we've put ourselves into a much more bigger space and attract more audience for our area.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you on that point. And then, Mr. Maphakela, some of our viewers on Facebook, Zim6 says, Katlego, you've registered a great point, because arts and music in particular is regarded as a poor cousin in the mainstream academic family. And then David Monene continues to add on that, saying, attended memorial lecture presented by UWC Chancellor. She totally spoke around the role of the Department of Education vis-a-vis for Industrial Revolution, and how can both bridge and promote talent we have in South Africa. So just to expand on that, you know, I might not understand the dynamics of the department, and you are working in the department. And if we were to ask them to come and maybe advise, what would be your first question to them, or your contribution towards that conversation, Mr. Maphakela?
All right, maybe the issue is not about asking them those questions, Mr. Masetle. I think, I don't see myself watching a robot singing or watching a robot painting and having its own portrait. Like it doesn't talk to the humanness of being a human. It's not inside. It's not expressive. I mean, imagine going to a concert and paying 50 rands for a robot to sing. That doesn't make sense. So the first question, I mean, the first statement we need to put across to the Department of Education is that we must start avoiding putting more emphasis in this physical science, your science and mathematics type of sale. We must move away from the science and mathematics. It's everything is about science and mathematics these days, because there are new innovations. The people want to come up with new ways of doing things. They want to build nice roads and all that, but they are forgetting the human nature. They're forgetting the human being, the inside of a human being. And the only way to do it, Brasidis, is to go back and saying, how do we then build? How do we then build on a let me just how do we then build a human being holistically? How do we have a human being that will ultimately become a scientist, but yet a human being that can express themselves emotionally and through the arts? This is not about choral music. I can hear that we are talking about choral music because this is choral mag, but I think we need to take care of the arts, in totality, because it's dying, and it's dying a painful death. It's dying a slow death. People are not interested anymore. People are with their phones. We can download whenever you want to download. You can listen at home. But there's the greatest collaboration will have the education system intact. That will give way to musicians, to painters, to dancers, and so forth. So first question, the first statement that has to go to the department is to say, introduce arts as a way of saying, and remember that not everyone will be a scientist or an Abramasid. People can study science, but not every one of them will become scientists. So let us have these arts as a center, as the basis of saying, how do we juggle around with people studying mathematics and people who are going to study whatever they want to study.
Thank you so much. Very good point. I don't want to add or subtract anything from that. I think you've pushed it forward enough, and you raised a point of science and all. Yes, I think we need to coexist as people or as professionals, and no profession should be taken for granted, because each and every profession plays a very, very important role in the development and growth of the human nature, as you mentioned. Me and you both studied science at Northwest University, not knowing that music can be taken as a career until very late in our lives, 4 years later, after wasting so much money, and we decided to take this path. Mr. Moaisi, you are a pianist, a conductor, and a teacher of music. On a day-to-day basis, what kind of challenges do you face? And you as a pianist, if me as Sydney approaches you and asks for favors to say, "Hi, Papa, man, I heard you in my show last week, and I have a choir that needs to perform." I think that's the other thing that make us or people disrespect us, favors and all that. And I'll be, in the other hand, undermining your profession. If I ask you for favor, I can give you 200 rands, come play for me, or I can buy you a cool drink. How do you make sure that you professionalize that side of yours as a pianist, and ensure that people take it serious, and not create a room for favors? Because I think we've done favors for quite a number of years, and it's high time that we take ourselves serious and professionalize whatever that we do, and not be apologetic about it. What are your feelings about that?
Yeah. Can I take a certain direction with this question, with your permission, of course?
No
maybe
problem.
indirectly also adding on what Maphakela said. In as much as we can try and invite other stakeholders or get them involved, like the Department of Education, I think it is also important for us to look at ourselves as well as the custodians of the art, to say, what are we doing? How much are we doing? What is our product worth? If I'm a painter, or if I'm a singer, what is my product worth? Is it something that can actually attract enough audience to come and watch? Is it something that says people can pay 4 rand or pay 200 rand to come and watch? So maybe we need to look at our product as well. And 2, we also need to look at how it develops with time. We cannot keep our product stagnant all the time and start blaming people for not attending, or other stakeholders for not supporting the art itself. But we need to try and ensure that we keep with time. There's evolution of music all the time. Last time we were talking about composers, we say certain composers, you can hear that they grow with time. The music is not, where it used to be in the 1980s, but you can hear that. So with us as well, as artists, as musicians, we also need to make sure that our product, when we put it on stage, it attracts people. And how we market things. There are new ways now of marketing things. And fortunately or unfortunately, there were certain good things about this whole COVID thing that actually made people to go virtual with what they're doing, which then means you attract a lot more people than you used to do. So we need to look at that. And yeah, and coming back to your question, you see, that's a very tricky one in a sense that the human element seems to take charge most of the time when it comes to that, and the fact that our choral or our music industry has always been close knit, that I wouldn't want to disappoint Sydney when Sydney says, "Wait, man, I don't have 500 says, can I let 200 times?" And I forget that Lena for now it's not only about putting bread on the table, but it's also about pricing my own product. So if I go to a spy saying 100, it means that's what I think of myself. That's what I'm worth. As long as I'm just out there, as long as if people can pay for it, that's okay. So that's the unfortunate part. So I would say to that, we've had this discussion. Fortunately, I'm in a group. We have a WhatsApp group of pianists. And this discussion has popped up quite several times to say that we is regulating how we charge, but we also need to try and respect our product so much that you stick to what you say. Yeah, I keep the human element will always be there. Kindness will always be exercised, but we need to take care of the professional side properly.
Absolutely. I agree with you. And, just to add on that, I think quality of our product, promoting quality of our product and also providing quality work speaks volume, While we are on this thing of collaborations, it will be very unfortunate for me as Sydney to take a choir, for instance, and collaborate with a pop artist, or maybe a well-established orchestra. And during the collaboration, I appear as maybe number 2 or number 3. It's a collaboration. Collaboration is collaboration. You've got to be equals. So if I appear, that takes me back to your point of quality of the product. If I appear as weak or apologetic about what I do, I've seen a number of choirs actually in previous years, doing certain gigs with pop artists, or you see them on TV doing being back artists for pop artists, and they don't get any mention further than being on TV. If you can take, for instance, Ladysmith Black Mambas, they've done this so well. They've featured a number of, or been featured by a number of great international artists. But the name Ladysmith Black Mambas will always be there in the forefront. It won't be Sydney featuring Ladysmith Black Mambas. The Ladysmith Black Mambas will be standing there as a brand and actually promoting that international artist. I would really love to see one day our choirs, we've got great choirs. You guys also conducted great choirs. Having such collaborations, not taking the back seat, but being right there in front. When I said earlier that I had to approach it's a true story, a number of people who were in the media industry. I didn't appear as someone who was seeking advice without knowing what they were doing. I told them, this is the plan. This is what I need. Can you provide that? And then if we work together, here are the terms, because I'm coming with the proposal, here are the terms. And I was talking to a friend the other day, and I told him that, these days I'm very scared of, I'm also guilty for this. I'm very scared of collaborating with people from our industry simply because of trust issues. But I think we need to get over that thing and try to push this thing. And the trust is gonna come. I think work speaks volume. Actually, your work will speak volume. And if your work is amazing, no one will take advantage of you. It takes me back to you, Mr. Kholane, to say, every day when you wake up, you wake up and go practice music. And you also conduct an institutional choir. So I want to know the difference between, we are now out of the topic that we started with, but that's the beauty of discussions, the difference between the professionalism at the army band versus when you are in charge now at the TUT choir. What's the difference? Are there things that you can steal from that side, bring this side, and maybe ensure that there's discipline. I know in army they preach discipline all the time. There's discipline, and there's focus and direction, because we should not do things haphazardly. What have you taken from the army band that maybe our choirs can learn?
Hey, Mr. Maphakela, you are touching one of the most important subject. Hey, yeah, I got to the army to be employed at something else, and then I happened to see that there's music, and because of talent, I have talent of music from home. I switched and I took a huge risk of joining the band that had ultimatums that if you fail, you don't have qualification, you've got 0. So you've got only a limited time to study. You finish, you fail, you go home. You pass, you stay. One thing that Army has taught me is that when you've got passion, when you've got talent, back it up with academics. It will definitely take you far. I remember the first time when I wrote my grade 1. This comes back to this issue where Mr. Maphakela was talking about the Department of Education. It was so heartbreaking and in the same time heartwarming. We were 3 colleagues. We went to Pretoria Boys High to write our first grade of theory music. And when we went there, to our surprise, we were writing like with a 7 years old kids. And about 8 years old, they were already writing grade 4, grade 5 of music theory. That's when I have realized that, you know what, where we come from, actually, our department or in our sector or in our corners, we have been disadvantaged, or it's because of maybe in our Black nation, talent is just taken as talent. And then when we come to professional field, with your talent, you come to a professional space, then papers are required. Then you have to go back. You've been taught the same thing when you grew up, but now the very same thing, it is called in a different names that has been specifically designed for it. So one thing that Army has taught me is that when you've got passion, when you've got talent, support it and make it to be solid with academics. Being curious into the academic world will definitely open your mind. In our choral fraternity, without education, what we do is that, especially Western pieces, we do a lot of researches. We go to Google, we research to get knowledge. So I think also tapping into the schooling, it will definitely open up the spectrum or the way we think in the industry, and it will influence us positively. To this day, I never thought that one day I'll be able to write music, but today I'm arranging music for the military bands. So this is the power of education.
No, good point. And then each time is an enemy, gentlemen. All the time you'll think 1 hour is long. Hey, turn out to be very, very short, Now, looking at the future, gentlemen, now I'm unapologetic about this. I'm not scared. I always say this. I'm not scared of anything for that matter. And I respect people who came before me and will forever do. I respect people who are gonna come after me. And I will make sure that I create a clear path for them, which I feel is very important. We work with young kids in most instances. It's all about how do we groom them to be better than us, not like us. And in most instances, we are where we are because maybe someone somewhere did not take Sydney by his hand and made sure that in this music world, this is how you do things. Sometimes you need to be streetwise, and to be streetwise, you need to learn it from people who've been there. So I'm unapologetic about this, gentlemen. Let's plan the future together. And if you were to be given an opportunity, Mr. Maphakela, to say, you know what, here is the choral fraternity. I don't conform myself to red tapes and stuff like that, boundaries and all that. I personally, And I can actually advocate this forever and ever. I'm coming from the media perspective. I'm going to raise very uncomfortable issues, and unfortunately, we will have to deal with them. I'm asking for your views, not necessarily to back up what I'm saying, but to actually share with the whole world what you think, what I think might be wrong, what you think might be wrong or right, So I'm asking, if you were to be given a platform to say, what, we are now drafting a master plan for the next 5, 6 to 10 years, and what would be your short contribution towards that? We raised a very important thing in terms of collaborating with education, as it is the main player, in childhood development and adulthood development as well, And what would be your contribution? A very short contribution. I know we are running out of time.
Yeah.
If you could just give us your contribution.
Well, I just wanted to conclude. Whereas this is the last one. I just want to thank you for this, because you've just unblocked something that was blocking my view. And we have a Northwest Musicon. Is it Northwest Musicon in Klerksdorp, and I'm based in Klerksdorp, and I feel ashamed. I want to be honest. I feel ashamed that. And in that space, the Northwest Musicon, there are people we know, but what blocks us from going to them and saying we need your help? I think we need to come to a level where we're saying, how do we meet each other? The person we collaborate with, being it Mabana, being it Northwest Musicon and what have you, how do they come closer to us? How do they meet us halfway as human beings? Sometimes we are scared to go there and ask for help for other reasons. There are so many reasons. You'll be afraid to go and talk your ideas to people. But with what has been said here, I've picked up that we need to do less of this talking, and we need to go back. We need to go to people and really knock on their doors and ask for help. They have an orchestra. I remember they have an orchestra there. They have classes, music classes. They have all these kind of things. But we are shying away. So I think what we need to do, what you're saying, is that we need to be courageous, and I appreciate that. I don't want to place my point on top of your point. I appreciate the fact that you're saying we need to be courageous and go to people and just knock on their doors and ask for help. And this is certainly, for the 10 years or the 5 years that you're talking about, this is certainly one of the things that will be on the table. That will be something that we really think about, to go to people, even if we're doing our own thing on the side. And again, when Mr. Baseta, I just want to talk about something outside of this thing. I think we just have to have time we are four. It's four of us. We are Tswanas, and I don't want to be tribal or anything. We just have to come up with ways. We are talking about Ladysmith Black Mambas. What won them and what wins them every single time is that they pride themselves in their own culture. And I think for going forward, we need to pride ourselves in our own languages and say, let's have music, let's do music in Tswana, and proper Tswana, let's do music in proper Zulu, and then go to people and collaborate with them. I think we need to take our language to people before we collaborate with them. Let us collaborate with them using our own cultures. Maybe that might work.
Great. But Mr. Moaisi?
Yes. Yeah. The operative word that I took from Maphakela is courageous. No, we need to be courageous to go into this space. That's number one, and that's something I noticed when we started infiltrating the theater. That actually the people are actually hungry for the product that we have. Because people are they become very excited to get very nice reviews out of it. And maybe the fact that, and I think I've mentioned this before again, that we've always taken competition too seriously, such that when a concert or a collaboration opportunity comes through, we do not prepare as much as we would for a competition. So then a person who's now paying just for you to perform for them and not competing does not get the product that they want. So we need to take ourselves seriously in that regard. So yes, I don't have much words, but just to thank you again for bringing up this discussion. I think it will need to be discussed again. An hour is definitely too short for this. There's actually more that you can achieve through collaboration. And maybe just the last point into this is to remember that in as much as we can be the same as artists, but there's actually uniqueness amongst all of us. And collaboration actually speaks to that. So no one wants to come and listen to four choirs plus orchestra with four choirs singing different repertoire, but singing the same thing, the same kind of genre. So we actually need to embrace ourselves in our own unique way. Thank you, Mr. Masek.
Thank you so much, Papa. Prof. Please unmute.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, from my side, for future, I would encourage our fellow colleagues, conductors, like Mr. Moaisi have narrated, that we take so much effort to prepare for competitions, and doing so it involves finances. I would like to actually challenge us, especially other conductors that didn't have the opportunity or do not have the opportunity to go to school full time to study music. We've got institutions like Trinity College of London, we've got ABRSM Rural Schools, we've got also UNISA, where you can actually take this as a challenge of Googling, getting the syllabus of directing music, of which the same amounts that we are using in our choirs when we prepare for competitions is actually way less to register and then organize a chorus of minimum of 20 choristers, and then is the same setup of competitions. There's prescription, you go there, you organize a venue, you get adjudications, they come, you sing, they ask you questions and do oral, and then you get the qualification. This is the other form of tapping into the academic side to make sure that we are truly learning. So this is a challenge that I would like to pose to us as conductors. And even for soloists, the very same institutions, just register one chorister of your own, because we are developing choristers, we are developing soloists. And tomorrow when they have to go and perform somewhere, they are only blocked by a paper qualification, of which it's something that we can definitely invest in, and because of even the repertoire is the same thing. The same repertoires that they are singing as soloists and in the choirs is the same repertoire, nothing different. So I would, for future, I would pose that challenge to all of us to actually tap into that door. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Abuti. What are you guys working on before I let you go? And maybe you can also do your goodbyes there. What are you guys working on? What can you expect in the coming few months or years? What are you guys busy with? Where do I start? Papa?
Yes, with Lemon Choral, I mean, there's nothing that we're doing this year. Probably there's going to be something beginning of next year, around February or March, a concert back in KZN. And what I'm doing back here in Gauteng with Vicious Sounds on the 2nd and 3rd of December, we have collaborated with Yonela Mnana in the Art Alive, in the 2020 Art Alive program. So we're doing something at the Morris Isaacson Hall in Soweto. It's a workshop, it's a 2-day workshop and performance kind of an event, and we close it with a whole concert on the 7th of December. Yeah, so far that.
Exciting. We're looking forward to that. Hopefully soon we'll see adverts on different platforms. Mr. Kholane?
All right, from my side, it's exciting. With the institution, STUT, we have decided to combine 3 campuses. We are working on a project to do a concert next month, by end of next month, of which it will be a work of COVID-19, from where it began, and then the music is commissioned. It will be it's African opera setting that will be orchestrated. So that's one project that we are working on, and then the other one individually or from my workspace that I'm busy with now is an arrangement of the popular piece Jerusalem Challenge that we will be doing from tomorrow, and hopefully it will be it's going to be filmed on Friday, and it should be on our Facebooks in a few weeks' time. Yeah.
Awesome. We're looking forward to that, Prof. We will definitely support. And Tate Pax?
Like I said, we just established a nice group, young people, a very small group, and we at least we are afforded a chance to partake in the African Choral, African Gospel and Choral Championship, which is mainly about uniting Africans, having links between countries, and for now that's the project we are busy with. But in the long run, Mr. Masetle, we have to own our own academies. We just have to have our own things. We have to have our own musical academies, because musical academy is your academy of dancing and everything. We just need to have academies, more and more academies, because we are moving there. We are swimming with sharks. So generally, what in the long run, we just have to have academies. Mine is to have a music academy in the near future, and we'll see what happens after that.
Yeah, oh, this sounds exciting. Gentlemen, I've never been so excited. You know, last week or 2 weeks back, after the roundtable, I posed the challenge to the conductors I had, and it will be unfair not to give you a challenge. I don't know how will you feel about it. And can I, you know, if the lockdown is better, before we have our follow-up conversation, because as you said, gentlemen, we've been discussing for years and years and years without action. And, you know, to show that we can put these plans or ideas in motion, we've got to have a follow-up and make sure that we follow up on the follow-up. I don't know if I make sense. So can I challenge you guys to, with all the groups that you are working with, maybe approach 1 or 2 if you're interested in having a partnership with the orchestra or the theater house or the theater or the theater house in your area. Please go contact them. I will try by all means from my side during the follow-up to have all the people who can help us achieve the stuff that we think are challenges today. And we will have a discussion with them, because at the end of the day, we need to map the way forward. We've discussed for so many years. I am one who does not like talking a lot without action. And yes, there are things that people can learn from our discussions, but I think it's time that we act and make sure that we take this thing forward without necessarily being shy about it, without necessarily being apologetic about it, and then not stepping on anyone's toes. I would like to repeat that, without stepping on anyone's toes, because, you know, once we put red tapes on things and thinking that we've got total or complete ownership of things, that's where the problem is. And if we can operate from our own small spaces and make sure that we achieve whatever that we put on this public domain today, and from our own small spaces, one will be looking from a distance, learning, and obviously something great can come out of this discussion, you know. So can I challenge you guys to go forge some partnerships, and when we come back next time, come with some feedback of some sort to say, you know what, I've spoken with these people. If there's still a challenge, we'll navigate around it and find people who can answer to that, you know. And I don't know how you feel about that. You've got your music on Parks, as you said, you've got Mabana, Professor, you've got State Theatre next to you, Papa, you've got like in the East End, there's so many musicians I know. I was grouped by someone from the East End, and there are so many theaters that side, and some of them are closing. If we can give them that performance, and then you work in KZN with the Claremont Choral as well. There's the Playhouse there. There's the KZN KO there. If the issue is, man, let's find out. Let's not assume from our small corners that there might be a challenge without having approached the people whom we think might challenge us. How do you feel about that challenge, gentlemen?
No. Up for it.
Good. Thank you, Papa. Prof?
Yeah, no, let's get into it.
Okay. Yeah, Rebere, Pax. Yeah. No, thank you so much, gentlemen. And thanks a lot to the viewers at home. The future is in our hands, and it's all up to us to take it further. My name is Sydney Masetle. Don't be shy. Thank you to the gentlemen who joined me today, and Lebuso, Kholane, Katlego, Maphakela, and Lehlohonolo, Moaisi. And thank you for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. And this has been a very exciting discussion, and we believe that something great would grow. If you are watching out there and you feel that you can assist in one of the things that we discussed today, feel free to contact me, and you can just inbox me or inbox Choral Meg on this Facebook platform, or send an email. The details are there on the Choral Meg Facebook page. If you feel like there's a contribution that you can make, don't be shy, come forward, and we will push this thing. What I gathered from this conversation from this great gentleman is that let us make sure that we produce quality product for people out there to take it serious. And another thing is that the education department needs to play a very important role in making sure that arts does not take a backseat. You know, it's a main career as well. It plays a very pivotal role in development of human nature. And another thing is that within the challenges that we are facing, let's try by all means to get out of our shells and make it a point that we push this thing forward without blaming anyone or waiting or expecting favors from anyone. I'm very happy and blessed to have been joined by this gentleman, and you at home. My name is Sydney Masetle. Thank you for tuning in. Enjoy your Sunday.